Welcome everybody to the Impact of Iowa Food Pantry Coaching. My name is Ashley Capel and I am the Regional Partnership Coordinator for Region 1 at the Food Bank of Iowa, which is kind of the northwest section of our service area. A few things before I introduce Katie, who is our speaker today. There will be time for questions at the end, so we'd appreciate if you kind of hold those off until she's kind of finished with everything. The session will be recorded, just like all the other ones, and later shared to all of our partners. And please, if you have not yet, complete your partner survey. Like Emily mentioned a bunch of times, it is super helpful for us to hear from you guys, everything that you're seeing, what more you want from us. So please fill that out and turn that in at the registration table. Okay, now let me introduce Katie. Katie Sorrell is a registered dietitian with Iowa State University Extension and Outreach, overseeing food pantry coaching and Growing Together Iowa, a statewide donation gardening program. Katie has 2 decades of experience with SNAP Ed funding at ISU, Iowa Department of Public Health, and University of California, San Diego. Katie has helped to make the healthiest choice the easiest choice for families experiencing nutrition insecurity through policy, systems, and environmental changes at work sites, faith sites, retail stores, schools, food pantries, community gardens, and farmers markets. Let's welcome Katie.
Well, who knew we were going to need our winter coats? I was like the end of May, but it's actually June 1st. So thank you for being in here. I know it is very cold, so it'll keep us awake after lunch. But I'm Katie. I'm with Iowa State Extension. I've been there for about 3 years, and I'm really excited to tell you about our work with food pantries as well as resources that we can connect you with through Iowa State Extension. So here's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about what our healthy food pantry coaching is and what it's not. We're going to discover what you all are already doing to offer healthy choices. We're going to learn the impact food pantry coaching has on choice and variety and supports. We're going to discuss the factors influencing offering healthier options, which you all will be the experts in. And then I also want to connect you with resources to support your pantries. So this is the kind of what we do with our food pantry coaching. So whenever I hear coaching, I always think the coach is the expert. Not at all. You all are the experts of your food pantry. Will you raise your hand if you run a pantry? Do all of you run a pantry? Yeah, almost all of you. Okay. So you are the experts of your pantry. You know your people, you know your clients, your community, your volunteers, you know your space, you know what's available, you know your strengths and your challenges. So as food pantry coaches, we come along, and I'll skip down to that bottom one. We just encourage food pantries by connecting you with resources, supporting changes, and being a resource. And our project is funded by SNAP Ed. And I don't know, raise your hand if you've heard of SNAP Ed before. Has anybody heard of that? Okay, a little bit. So it's connected with SNAP. It's through the Farm Bill. And SNAP Education is the nutrition education piece that USDA sets aside. It's about $500 million at the federal level. I wish it was that at the state level, but that's at the federal level. And it's to provide education and improve the environments for Iowans and people throughout the United States that are at or below 185% of the federal poverty level. So the same as TFAP, right? That same guidelines. So that's who we're funded by. And over the past 4 years, we've worked directly with food banks. So in the past 4 years, we've worked directly with HACAP. So over in that eastern side, we have a food pantry coach, Brianna. She's a registered dietitian and is doing a fabulous job there. And then at Food Bank for the Heartland, which is such an interesting food bank, they cover 2 states. So they cover Nebraska and Iowa. So we have Judy, who's a dietitian over in Food Bank for the Heartland. And I'm excited to let you know that at the end of this month, we are getting a healthy food access specialist, which is a food pantry coach for Food Bank of Iowa. So a new person is going, her name's Eva, and she's going to be supporting, we're going to start in Polk County and supporting Food Bank of Iowa, Polk County food pantries. So we are really excited about that. Can you raise your hand if you're in Polk County? Do we have? Yes, you're in the right place. Okay, great. Well, I'm going to tell you more about it, and we can connect afterwards. So our dream would be to be connected with all food banks if our funding were to expand someday, as well as to be able to work in all the regions with the Food Bank of Iowa. So for now, we're in 3 food banks. And what we do, what these healthy food access specialists do, or food pantry coaches, we use this assessment tool, which sounds super scary. It's not at all, but it's called the Nutrition Environment Food Pantry Assessment Tool, and we call it the NEFPAT. And what we do is we connect with local food pantries, and we fill out this form, and it is very casual. It is not an audit. It is not like we're looking for things that you're not following. It is, we literally come and we just want to support food pantries. And we do the assessment, and then we set goals together, and then we come back and do a post-assessment at a minimum of 3 months. So University of Illinois designed this tool, and it walks through 6 objectives, or 6 main things that it's looking at helping to improve. So here are the 6 main objectives. And as I'm going through these, think of which one would be the hardest you think to change. The first one is increase client choice for nutritious options. And I'll go through all of these in detail in a little bit. The second one is to market or nudge healthful products. The next 2 seem pretty similar. There's provide various forms of fruits and vegetables. So that's dried, 100% juice, frozen, fresh, canned. And then provide various colors of fruits and vegetables, because we know every color has special nutrients in it. And then promote additional resources and plan for alternate eating patterns. So that might be gluten-free, halal, kosher, vegan, all sorts of those. So which of these do you think would be the hardest to change in a pantry? What do you think, Missy?
I think it's the colors.
The colors, getting more colors in.
Because we don't always have, we buy whatever's affordable.
Yes. That, yes.
We've actually done this evaluation, and we've had the hardest time with colors.
That's awesome. So they've done this one. Okay, anyone else have any thoughts? Which one do you think would be the hardest?
Marketing and nudging the healthy products.
Yeah. Yeah. Marketing those healthier products. Yep. So I'm going to walk through each of them, and this is what actually we use in the tool. So each of these 6 objectives has sub-points, has strategies, and I'm going to walk you through those, and then I'll show you the results of, we have almost 50 food pantries that we have this data on. So the first one is client choice, and it's not just client choice where clients can choose what foods they want. There's a lot of different things here. So choosing the foods to take, hosting a shopping style distribution, that clients can come more than once a month, that the food pantry offers items from each of the 5 food groups, so fruits, vegetables, grains, protein, and dairy. Encourages nutritious donations. They seek donations from gardeners, has a nutrition policy, and a policy is in place for proper food safety. Kind of overwhelming, right? So at none of our pantries, this is like the gold standard. As I'm going through these, this is like the gold standard for pantries, but also gives us a place to think about. It gives us ideas of changes we all could make in our local pantries. So that's objective 1. So what we do is we would check the box if that's something you're currently doing. And then if when we go through this, you would say, oh, I would love to ask our local master gardeners if they donate extra produce. Then we might star that and set that as a goal when we do our goal setting. So that's objective 1. Objective 2, which you were talking about, marketing and nudging healthy products. So this is using recipes and food sampling, having My Plate, which is the governmental nutrition education program, having My Plate posters up, having supporting materials for healthy foods, having food bundles, which we talked about this morning, where foods are bundled together. So maybe that would be spaghetti and spaghetti sauce and a can of green beans all in one plastic bag that maybe volunteers could do. Or that's also a great way if we have a lot of something that's not moving. Healthy foods are stocked to appear abundant. I'm involved in my local food pantry, and that is hard sometimes, right? Where the foods that are really popular, like, for example, rice, we have a hard time keeping in stock. And so there might just be a couple bags of rice left, and people will say, no, I don't need them. I'll save them for someone else. And I'm like, we have a bunch in the back. We just haven't, restocked them. So that keeping them stocked to appear abundant, having them displayed and angled so that the average client can see them, and then that at least one healthy food is within eyesight upon entering the pantry. So for the marketing and nudging, this is what we're looking at. And as we're talking, you might think, I think there's other ideas too. And this is definitely not totally comprehensive assessment tool, but it's a good place for us to start. The third one is various forms. So you can see the 5 forms are in the bigger lettering, and then the smaller one is if it's the healthiest option, right? So canned, the canned with a certain amount of sodium, the frozen with less sugar, the dried with less sugar where it doesn't have added sugar. So, and then that 100% juice. How many of your pantries offer juice? Can you raise your hand? Okay, so we do have some. I know that's something a lot of pantries want but haven't been able to get. This next one, which we were talking about, the various types and colors of fruits and vegetables. So it's kind of, when I go through this, I'm like, what are white or tan brown fruits or vegetables, right? So that would be like bananas or potatoes. And I think the blue-purple one would be really hard, right? Because unless it's fresh or frozen blueberries or maybe dried plums, that one can be kind of hard. And then you get extra if you have more than 2 types in that color. So it could be frozen, it could be canned, it could be fresh, any of those of the forms, but a variety of colors. So this next one is promoting additional resources, which I bet a lot of you are already doing. So it's providing information on other assistance programs, so SNAP, WIC, Senior Farmers Market coupons, and then providing nutrition education to clients with which Extension can help you with. We have Extension offices in every single county. We actually have 2 in Pottawatomie County, so we have 100 Extension offices. So if you ever wanted nutrition education, you can connect with your local Extension office. And then some of these other ones are mobile markets, having an on-site garden, affordable healthcare information, doing health screenings. Can you raise your hand if you've ever done health screenings at your pantry? It's kind of a hard one, I think, to partner with a local healthcare provider. The employment assistance, and then providing other self-improvement resources. I've seen ones that have promoted mental health or stress relief. And I know some of our food pantry coaches have worked with pantries to create resource centers at the pantry where all that information is. The final one that we walk through on the NEFPAT is the plan for alternate eating patterns. So the first one is, there's only 5 in this one. So the first one is providing food pantry volunteers with nutrition education. The second one is utilizing CSFP, which in Iowa is not available in a lot of counties. So that one's hard for some counties. Labeled sections for specific foods. So that might be gluten-free or kosher. Providing diverse options for protein and providing culturally diverse foods. So those are the 6 objectives and the strategies underneath it. Do you want to see what was hard and easy for our pantries? Yeah, okay. So from October 1st of 2021, which seems forever ago, but in that fiscal year from October 1 through September 30th, we did the pre-assessment with almost 50 food pantries, and in 16 counties, mainly in that HACAP service area, so over on the eastern side of the state, and then the food bank for the Heartland area. And then we had 31 pantries that we had a matched pre and post test. So on the NEFPAT, there are 47 things listed as a strategy. And when we did the pre-test, does anyone want to guess what the average score or the average number of boxes that were checked for food pantries? Does anyone want to try and guess? Out of 47. 10? Okay. 8 or 10? Okay. 6? We had no idea. Before we did any food pantry coaching, the average, you were already doing 22 things to make your environment healthier. Amazing. So when we did that NEFPAT, we used the NEFPAT tool, we were able to check on average 22 boxes, which showed us that you all are doing a phenomenal job helping to create a healthier environment in your food pantry. And as a result of our food pantry coaching, we were able to make 6 changes on average in food pantries that we hope are sustainable. So we were so excited. We had no idea what the pre-assessment was going to look like or what the post-assessment was going to look like, but the thing we were most excited about is that you all are already doing amazing things. So here it's broken down by those 6 objectives. So you can see the blue is the pre-test, the pre-assessment, and the post-test is orange. So which one increased the most? The healthy options, right? The marketing, the healthy options. Which one increased the least? Can you see? The alternate eating patterns? Yeah, that one's hard. That one's hard. So with the marketing healthy options, I'm going to share with you later the resources Extension has, but that increase was because we at Extension, we have lots of resources to help you market healthy items. We have a lot of recipes specifically for foods in the pantry. So that shows the increase, and you can see all of them went up. And I wanted to walk through real quick, that last one is so hard. And this is what, just to review, this is what that final one is, where it's like nutrition education for food pantry volunteers, having diverse options for protein. And I know we all are working really hard to have culturally diverse foods, but that's just a hard one. That's a hard one. So once we had this data, where we saw the changes go from 22 to 28, we thought, well, is anything impacting this data? So we went through and we said, do any of these factors impact the NEFPAT scores? So if we went and did the post-assessment at winter, would it look different? Or the months between assessment, if it was rural or urban, how many people the pantry was reaching, and then if they had paid staff or volunteer-led, and the region within the state. So we wanted to see what impacts these scores. So the first one is season at the post-assessment. So it doesn't matter when we did the pre-assessment, but the post-assessment, this is the season. Shocked me, this data did. So what season did we see the highest post score? Fall. Do you all get a lot of fall produce in your pantry? I see some head shakes, yes. I would have thought it would be summer. But so that was really interesting to us that the fall had the highest post-assessment score. And then when we looked at our months between assessment, I would have thought the longer we went between the pre and post assessment, the higher the score would have been. And this is what it showed. Again, data is so interesting. And, you know, this isn't a huge sample size, but this shows us that we had some pantries that were ready to make some changes in less than 3 months, right? They made quick changes. But really, it doesn't make a huge difference how long we did between assessments. The rural-urban, raise your hand if you are in a rural area. Okay, raise your hand if you're in an urban area. Okay, so here is the data with rural compared to urban. So interesting. So it looks, we had 10 more urban pantries, but it's interesting that rural pantries, their pre-assessment was a little bit lower on average, but went a little bit higher than the urban pantries. So interesting to me. And then this one is monthly pantry reach. So based on the monthly client visitors, this shows that if you're serving over 50 people, it's pretty much the same, right? Like the pre and post assessment. When we get to the really big food pantries, you can see they tended to have a little bit higher pre and post scores, but that may be because they have more staff or more help. But I think this is so interesting that based on the monthly pantry reach, the assessment looks a little bit different. And then we have just a couple more. So paid staff versus volunteer-led. You can see the difference here. So pantries that had at least one person who was 50% or more of their time was paid for the food pantry. We included them in paid staff. And then the volunteer-led. So really, in the end, they're pretty much equal. And the final one, this is location in the state. So again, we have a lot of people in the east. We had a lot of pantries in the east and a lot of pantries in the southwest. And this was a big difference. We had 10 more pantries, and this is just looking at those two areas. We also had food pantries in other areas. But look at the difference in the pre-assessment, right? You can see that in Southwest Iowa, they started lower, but they pretty much met at the post-assessment. So it is so interesting, and we're going to continue. We've continued doing this. We're excited to expand to Polk County, and we'll have more data to reflect on and analyze and look at. But I think what this data showed us is, like, again, you're already doing awesome stuff, and all pantries, when we looked at all this data, pretty much they're all those factors, in the end, pantries are pretty similar in the difference, the number of changes they can make. So as we're working with food pantries specifically in Polk County, we've been developing some materials that we're going to be able to, when we partner with food pantries, we'll be able to get. And if you're outside of Polk County, my hope is we'll be able to give you these that you could print out. But I wanted to show you just some things that we're going to be providing our Polk County partners. So just some pantry signs, some posters that we have that we're trying to make them be really positive and reflective of all cultures. We have these shelf talkers, which are like those marketing and nudging, like the healthier options. And then we have these as well, these, and these come in big groups. So those are some of the things we're going to be providing, and we hope down the road we'll be able to provide to more pantries. And then for all pantries, we have these resources online which are really great, and you can just Google these. We have a healthy food pantry donation guide that's bilingual, and it's, if you ever have a group that wants to do a donation drive for you, I think you will appreciate step one is talk to your food pantry and ask them what they need. And then we have some healthy options. That green circle says, you know, try and find pop tops in case people don't have can openers. So that is available online. It's, again, bilingual. It's just a really good resource if you ever have a group that wants to do a donation drive and you want to steer them towards healthier foods. We also have this kids coloring sheet that's available bilingually, and then that growing tomatoes in a container, that's also bilingual, and it's if you ever have seeds, a bunch of seeds that you have at your food pantry, or you get a bunch of starter plants, that's how you can grow tomatoes in containers. So you can just Google growing tomatoes in container in extension and it'll pop up. The other thing that we've done at the other food pantries, which we're hoping to be able to do with Food Bank of Iowa, is we do monthly newsletters that relate to one of those strategies in the NEFPAT. So like these are some of the monthly topics that we've done, and we have a video and resources. We also, based on what foods are available at the bank that month, we provide some recipes. And so we're hoping to do something like that as well with Food Bank of Iowa. So that's our food pantry coaching. So we do the NEFPAT, we do this communication at the bank level. We also do some direct education. And then I wanted to share with you 2 other projects that we have going on through Extension, and then I would love to take all your questions after this. So the first thing I want to talk about is Growing Together Iowa. Has anyone ever seen this poster or this in a garden? You ever seen this? I see some head shakes. So Growing Together Iowa, it is also through Extension. It's also through SNAP Ed. I lead this program, and we provide mini grants to community gardens that donate all the produce to food pantries. So here's where we are. This year we're in 30 counties, and it's very cool to see. So it's a partnership between the Extension Office, a food pantry, and a master gardener. We're in our, oh goodness, what year? 7th or 8th year of doing this. And it's what I love about it is when counties first come on board with Growing Together Iowa, at the end of the year, they will say, we had no idea there were people in our county that needed help or needed food. And so it really raises awareness on nutrition security in counties. So last year, this was our data from Growing Together Iowa. We donated almost 115,000 pounds of fresh produce to 115 food pantries. Did any of you can you raise your hand if you got produce from Growing Together Iowa that you know of? Did anybody get it? No, we need to get this in your county, right? Yeah, we have one. So it's been such a cool program. And if you ever get connected with your extension office, or you have an active master gardener or a food pantry that would love a garden, have them contact me. Yeah. Polk County is up there. Yep. Yep, here, I'll go back one. Let me see if I can, yep. So Polk County is one. They have a couple of gardens here in Polk County that they do. Yep. Yep, so that's Growing Together Iowa. And when the produce is donated, we also send along nutrition education materials, which I'm gonna show you now. So I'm gonna we'll see how I do with the technology here, but I'm gonna pull up Spend Smart, Eat Smart, which, can you raise your hand if you've seen this website before? Okay, yes, I'm so glad to get to tell you, those of you who haven't seen it. Oh no, What happened? Okay, let's see if how do I get rid of that? Okay. I might need some technical, oh, there it is. No, that's, okay, here we go. There we go. Okay, so this is Spend Smart, Eat Smart. I honestly don't know the web address. I just Google Spend Smart, Eat Smart, and this is an incredible resource for I'll show you the tagline and you'll realize why it's a great resource for your clients. You can eat healthy and stick to a tight grocery budget. So this whole website, so it's both a website and there's also an app. The Android portion of the app is slightly glitchy right now, but all other phones, it's working really well. And what Spend Smart, Eat Smart does, the first thing that I'll show you is it has Get Help Buying Healthy Food. So if you click on that, it's all the different food assistance programs if you're in the state or out of the state. You all know you can also have clients call 211, but if you ever want to send a website and say, here's all the resources available, that is a really good one. So that's on our homepage. And then under each section, I'll walk through some of them and then I'll show you. So there's plan, how to do menu planning, which I know that's hard for me to do. So there's some tools there. And then there's tools on how to read food labels. If you ever have clients that are struggling to understand food labels, I'll just show you that section. There's videos, there's information, there's dates. So those are all under there. But the one I really wanted to show you was the cook section. So our most popular thing for food pantries are, which Emily mentioned this morning when she was talking about food, are produce basics. So produce basics, and we actually are working on adding 10 more, hopefully by the end of this summer, 10 more produce items. But these are all Iowa produce items, or items we have at pantries. You can see all of them. So I'm going to go to one that's hard for me to prepare, which is winter squash. The pantry I'm involved with got like 200 winter squash this past fall, and we were like, what are we going to do with it? So this is an option. So winter squash, here's all the information about it. There's how to prepare winter squash. There's a video. And then down at the bottom, there's print-friendly PDFs in English and Spanish. And if you have the Google Translate extension on your computer, you can translate these. Spend Smart, Eat Smart can be translated into any language. So we've done a lot in Arabic for certain food pantries, but it's available in all the different languages. So I'll show you the English, I'll show you what the print-friendly version looks like. But it's just really helpful if you have produce that you don't quite know what to do with, or you have lots of and are trying to move. So this shows the nutrition benefits, how to store it, how to clean it, how to prepare it, and then a recipe that goes along with it. So these produce basics are so helpful. And again, we're looking at adding more of them. So that, I'll just show you the list again. Sorry if you get motion sick as I'm scrolling, but these are all the ones we have. Again, if you have the app on your phone, I know sometimes in pantries we will say, there's actually this Spend Smart, Eat Smart app. Here are the recipes you can do, like kohlrabi. I don't know about you, but I needed help into what to do with kohlrabi. So those are produce picks. And then the other one we have, or produce basics, the other one we have is pantry picks. And this one we're hoping to expand on, but these are things that pantries specifically told us they wanted help with, like, for example, lentils. I don't know if any of you have lots of lentils, but same thing. It looks just like the produce basics. There's some recipes as well as those same one-page flyers. So if you're having trouble with lentils, moving out of your pantry, here are some things. They have recipes and bilingual one-pagers about about them. Have any of you ever used these in your pantry? You have a couple? Now you know about them. So the other thing that's on here, so if you go to recipes, and again, these are all healthy, low-cost recipes, you can look at, you can search up here by ingredient, you can search by these different food groups, by snacks, and you can, so I will go to, let's go to desserts. So if I go to desserts, these are delicious. I just made them for my family last week. They're peanut butter banana oat bites. So if you had tons of banana, or I've heard of pantries having way too many oats than they know what to do with, this is something you could print out. And then down at the bottom, there's just a print the recipe. So you could just print that out for clients. So that's really helpful. You can do that search if you have an item that's you have lots of. And then one more thing, we have all these videos. So I don't know if you have screens in your pantry. We have some really, really, really great videos. So physical activity videos, which that may be kind of strange as people are waiting, you know. But all these ones about recipes, food preparation, how to organize your fridge, which I learned a lot from that, how to read the food label. So all of these are available on Spend Smart, Eat Smart, and I would just really encourage you, if even training volunteers on having the app on their phone, that if you have foods that people are unfamiliar with, it's a great resource. So that is Spend Smart, Eat Smart. And then the other thing I wanted to show you, which is a little bit harder to find, but we recently discovered it, is if you go to TFAP, which this is on TFAP, they have product information sheets. So if I go to grains, for example, and we get the TFAP, like let's say if we get this bakery mix, right? Maybe these are available for every TFAP food, which I didn't know. So it has the new, this is again not from Iowa State, this is from national level, but they have recipes that you can use with the TFAP foods, like biscuits and zucchini bread. So if you ever have a TFAP food that you're like, I have no idea what to do with this, you can always go to Spend Smart, Eat Smart and look it up. But also if you go to this, it's called Household Programs Product Information Sheet. So I'll show you another one. If we go to like proteins, I know we like the canned ground beef, right? Like what do we do with this canned ground beef? So it has some recipe options in there. So that was a really great resource that we've been sharing with a lot of our pantries as well. So that's what I wanted to talk with you today. I have business cards that I would love to hand out to you at the end if you want to connect or want the website address for some of these resources. But what questions do you have, or what resources do you think you might use now? Yeah. Yeah. That is a great question. So Growing Together Iowa mini grants, at the end of October, every year we do a call for all interested counties. So to apply for a Growing Together Iowa mini grant, you need to have someone from the Extension office, a food pantry person, which would be you all, and a master gardener. And the Extension office could help you find a master gardener. So if you're a first-time or second-time applicant, if your county, it's the first year you've applied, you're eligible for up to $4,000, which is great. So it can cover raised garden beds and materials for people to help volunteer at the garden, like small hand tools, soil, all of that. So it's $4,000. And then after that, it's $2,200. That's currently where we're at. So It's such a cool program. I get to go out and see the gardens, and just the amount of produce they donate is all that. It's often picked that day and then taken to the pantry. Yeah. Does that answer your question? So it's due that we have the call the end of October, and then they're due mid-December, and then we announce it in January. So I'll give you one of my business cards afterwards, and we can connect on that. And if your county already has a Growing Together Iowa project, you could talk with them. Like, we're starting to get gardens at pantries, which is really the goal, right? We would love to have, if you have the space, to have gardens at the pantries. Yeah, great question. Any other questions? Yeah, Becky.
So you've helped us with ideas on our pantry that we opened last September. And one of the things that we talked about and we have implemented is we have different symbols for gluten-free and diabetic-friendly and heart-friendly and vegan and vegetarian. Would that be something that Iowa State Extension could get involved in, that it could go out to a lot of the different pantries? Because I know other pantries have talked to us about that would be helpful, but for you guys to do it would be so much better than for me to have to share that.
Each of you to make that. I mean, I think that would definitely be something, especially as we're expanding into Polk County, that we could look at. And I would need to look at, we might have some, maybe not with the symbols, but with those labels. So,
Well, we put it in front of the food cart,
yes.
and we find that especially with seniors that are looking for low sodium or
Yes.
something, it's really helpful, and it's helpful to our volunteers
Yeah.
because they don't have to be completely educated on
Yeah.
the label. They can just see the
Yeah.
symbols there.
Yeah, I think that's great you did that. And that would be something, as with the food pantry coaching, that's one of the cool things we didn't anticipate, is like, if one pantry is doing something, we can, borrow from them or learn from them and share. So I would think that would be something we could share out. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, with the post-assessment results of the NEPAT coming in from participating pantries, it appears that regardless of where pantries were at the time of pre-assessment, they all seem to converge in that same number of boxes that are checked, which is like 28 or 29.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So, are those 28 or 29 check boxes pretty much the same boxes that are checked across all participating entities?
That is a great question. I'm going to pull this up really quick, and we'll go back. Let's look at this. Let's look right here. So you were asking about, like, that in the end, most of them got to about 28. And was it universally, like, if I were to look at all of those NEFPATs, would they have the same boxes? So the Marketing Healthy Options Extension excels in providing those, like, nudges and recipe cards and ideas. So that's really where we saw a lot of growth. You can see from that. But even increasing the colors of, I mean, again, this is average, but really it depends on pantry. So if it's a tiny pantry that doesn't have space for fresh produce, how can we increase the colors of fruits and vegetables? Like, what would that look like, right? So it is quite individualized. There are some that are just hard, right? Like nutrition education for volunteers. We have created a video about nutrition education that can be sent out to volunteers. So that one's really hard. Nutrition policy, I mean, that's really high level. Like, what foods are you going to procure for your pantry?
Do you, as your specialist, kind of navigate the waters on all this, does it seem like it's almost like a tier phenomenon going on then, where it's like, with so much input, like getting pantries to maybe that to 27 boxes
Yeah.
versus like 30, like,
Yeah.
is it kind of like a tier?
Yeah, and some of the food banks are actually looking at, like, could you, like down the road, could you be like a Gold Star pantry, which would mean, you made, let's say, 10 changes, including your choice, and you have a nutrition policy, right? So that is something we're looking at. And when I say they're hard, it means it takes a lot of buy-in, but the impact is huge, right? Like the impact of a nutrition policy or nutrition education for volunteers is big. So there are some that are lower hanging fruit, right? Like we can provide recipe cards for you to hand out in food pantries, but to do some of those like bigger, higher systems changes, those take a little bit more support and maybe more time.
There's probably ideas where, I don't know, go-to thoughts like ways of lowering the higher hanging fruit for people.
Right.
So it's very interesting.
Yeah, and we're trying to do that too through those monthly newsletters. Like, here are nutrition policies that have been written that you could just adapt for your pantry. Or here's a nutrition education video that you could just send out to, some of those things that seem really far out of reach. We're trying to have a lot of examples and samples. But yeah, those are, it's been such a learning curve for us. We didn't know what the pre-assessment was going to look like or the post-assessment, and we're continuing to try to make it easier to make all 47 changes, right? So, yeah.
You said this will be in Central Iowa.
Yeah, so someone is starting in 3 weeks from today. So she will be supporting Polk County food pantries. So we're really excited. We're working closely with Marie. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I have a question that she was talking about the like low sugar.
Yeah.
And so forth. So do you have a section that says low sugar, and then you could have maybe peaches and pears and all those things in that one area?
What we do is we actually have symbols,
Yeah.
and we put those symbols underneath the product
Right.
on the shelf. So it might be spread throughout the
Okay.
Yeah.
pantry. Becky shared with me something that I feel silly that I didn't know. I've already found them online. There are pages you can buy of magnets that you run through a printer, and you just type on them what you want and put them out and cut them down.
Yeah.
And so they're magneting on our grocery shelf.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's we always struggle to label. And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh my God, this is-" And then we can just move those labels according to what the
Yeah.
product is.
Yeah.
Works great if you have metal shelving. If you don't, then it's a problem.
But I think the movable is so important too, because you don't know if you're going to have gluten-free, right? Like you have no idea. So having it be really versatile, yeah.
Well, things like Rice Krispies depends on the brand. Okay, some Rice Krispies are gluten-free and others are not.
Yeah. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah.
In my perfect world, would there be any way you can get a brochure that tells the URLs, whatever, to get the extension office to, figure out how to prepare a winter squash? But could you have a handout, or get a handout with all the things for?
Yes, we do have hand.
Put on the URLs, I can write that.
Yeah, exactly. So I tell people, like the app is super, I tell people to just Google Spend Smart, Eat Smart. We do, if you go to our extension store and type in Spend Smart, Eat Smart, we have handouts. They look like phones that I should have brought them today, that you can hand out and get. But I can't remember the URL, so I just always say, just search for Spend Smart, Eat Smart.
And I'll take you to the.
It'll, yep.
Extension,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
but there's no existing brochures or anything, the handout to all the customers.
Yes, so if you go to our extension store, so if you just type in Iowa State Extension Store, and get my email afterwards and I'll send you the link. But it's this phone that has, it looks just like that landing page with the recipes and pictures. So yeah, that would be something you could hand out. And again, we found it to be really helpful to just show our phones. Like if you have something you could train volunteers on, if there's something that's really hard for client that's just not moving, or clients we don't know what to do with, then we show it on the phone too. Yeah, great question. Any other questions? Well, thank you so much for coming. I'm going to put my card up here, and if you have any questions or want website links, please grab one of these and email me. Thank you so much.